Today, we want to start with a simple question. When do you think you'll retire? Maybe you've already imagined the answer. Age 60, age 65. Maybe after your kids graduate from college, or perhaps after you've saved a certain amount of money. For decades, that's how most people thought about retirement. It was a date on the calendar, a goal you could work toward, a finish line you could see from a distance.
Wealth isn't disappearing. It's changing hands.
The next 10 years won't reward hustle. They'll reward better decisions. I'm Chi-Chi, tracking capital before it trends.
I'm Will, 20 years navigating real market cycles. The edge today isn't more information. It's sharper judgment. This is Align Wealth 2040.
Clarity,
Strategy.
action.
But Will, lately it feels like something has changed. I'm talking to more people in their late 40s and early 50s, especially those working in technology, finance, and other high-paying industries. Many of them aren't talking about choosing retirement anymore. They're talking about layoffs, corporate restructuring, AI replacing parts of their jobs, or simply realizing that finding another position at the same salary is much harder than they expected. Do you think retirement has changed?
I do. In fact, I think one of the biggest financial changes happening today isn't about the stock market. It isn't about interest rates, and it isn't even about AI itself. It's about how unpredictable our careers have become. 20 years ago, many people believed they could stay with one company for decades. They would gradually move up the ladder, earn more each year, and eventually retire on their own schedule. Today, that career path is becoming much less common. Technology is evolving faster. Businesses are changing faster. Entire industries are being reshaped in just a few years, sometimes by innovation, sometimes by automation, sometimes by economic uncertainty, and sometimes by decisions that have nothing to do with your performance. You can be an excellent employee and still find yourself looking for your next opportunity. That's why I often tell clients something that surprises them. Retirement is no longer just about age, it's about transition.
That's a powerful way to describe it. Because when people hear the word retirement, they usually picture someone relaxing on a beach or finally enjoying life after decades of hard work. But what you're describing sounds very different. You're talking about people entering a completely new chapter before they ever expected to.
Exactly. And here's the important distinction. Many people today don't retire because they plan to. They retire because life changed before their plan did. Maybe their company merged with another. Maybe their department disappeared. Maybe their skills suddenly became less valuable. Maybe they decided they wanted to care for aging parents. Or perhaps their health simply reminded them that time matters. Life doesn't always wait until you're 65. Sometimes life asks difficult questions much earlier, and those questions usually arrive without much warning.
Do you think AI is making people more anxious about this? Every week we see headlines about companies becoming more efficient. Some jobs are changing dramatically. Others are disappearing altogether. Even highly educated professionals seem uncertain about what the next 5 years will look like.
I think AI has accelerated a conversation that was already happening. Technology has always changed the workplace, but what's different now is the speed. Skills that were valuable 5 years ago may need to be updated today. Entire teams are being reorganized. Companies are asking fewer people to accomplish more. That creates incredible opportunities for some people, but it also creates uncertainty for many others. And uncertainty changes how we should think about money. Because if your career becomes less predictable, your financial strategy needs to become more flexible. That's the real lesson. Not fear, not panic, flexibility.
So maybe the question isn't, when will I retire? Maybe the better question is, if my career changes unexpectedly, will I still have choices?
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most important financial questions anyone can ask today. Because the ultimate goal isn't simply to retire early. The goal is to have options, to make decisions based on your values instead of your circumstances. To walk away from a job because you choose to, not because you're forced to. And that's a very different way of thinking about financial planning.
Will, can you give us an example? I think a lot of people understand the idea in theory, but it's easier to relate to a real story.
Of course. David is 52 years old. He spent nearly 25 years working in the tech industry. He did everything people told him to do. He worked hard. He earned promotions. He invested consistently. He bought a home. He saved for his children's education. From the outside, his life looked very successful. His original plan was simple: work until 62, maybe 65 if he still enjoyed it, then retire comfortably. But life didn't follow his spreadsheet. His company reorganized. His team was eliminated. Suddenly, he wasn't planning for retirement anymore. He was planning for unemployment.
That must have been incredibly stressful.
It was. Not because he had done something wrong. Not because he wasn't talented. The world simply changed. And here's what surprised him the most. Finding another job wasn't impossible. Finding another job with the same salary was. That's something many professionals don't think about. Your experience increases over time. Your salary increases over time. But sometimes the market moves in the opposite direction. Companies aren't always looking for the most experienced person. Sometimes they're looking for the most affordable person. Sometimes they're looking for different skills altogether.
So the challenge wasn't just losing a job, it was replacing the income.
Exactly. That's why I believe income is often more fragile than people realize. Many families spend years growing their net worth, but they rarely ask themselves one important question. What happens if my paycheck changes before my retirement plan does? Because that's the bridge. Your paycheck connects today's life with tomorrow's retirement. If that bridge suddenly becomes unstable, everything else needs to adjust.
So what helped David the most? Was it his investment returns?
Interestingly, no. What helped him most was something I call financial optionality. It's not a number. It's not a specific investment. It's the ability to make decisions without being trapped. For example, could he take a lower-paying job without panicking? Could he spend a year learning new skills? Could he help an aging parent without worrying about every monthly bill? Could he say no to a toxic workplace because he wasn't financially desperate? Those are all examples of optionality. Money isn't just about buying things. Sometimes money buys time. Sometimes it buys freedom. And sometimes it buys peace of mind.
I really like that idea, because people often measure success by how much money they have. You're suggesting that maybe we should measure success by how many choices we have.
Exactly. Think about two families. Both have the same net worth. Both have similar investment portfolios. But one family has flexibility. The other has obligations everywhere. Large mortgage, high monthly expenses, children entering college, parents needing financial support, one source of income. No room for unexpected change. On paper, they may look equally wealthy. In real life, they're living in completely different worlds. That's why financial planning isn't just about building wealth. It's about building resilience.
So, if someone listening today is in their 40s or 50s, what's the biggest mindset shift they should make?
I'd encourage them to stop asking, "When can I retire?" Instead, ask, "If life changes tomorrow, how many options would I have?" Because that's the question today's economy is asking all of us. No one can predict the future. No one knows what AI will look like in 5 years. No one knows how markets will behave. No one knows exactly when they'll stop working. But we can prepare ourselves to have more choices regardless of what happens.
That's a much more practical way of thinking. It's less about predicting the future and more about becoming prepared for different possibilities.
Exactly. And here's another observation. Many people think financial planning is about chasing the highest return. I don't completely agree. Yes, investment performance matters, but over a lifetime, your flexibility often matters even more, because life rarely follows a straight line. Careers change, families change, health changes, goals change. The people who navigate those changes well usually aren't the ones with the perfect prediction. They're the ones who built enough flexibility to adapt.
I think that's especially true today. The pace of change feels faster than ever.
It does, and I don't say that to create fear. Actually, I think it's the opposite. This is one of the most exciting periods in history. Technology is creating incredible opportunities. AI is increasing productivity. New industries are emerging. People can build businesses in ways that weren't possible 10 years ago. But every opportunity also brings new uncertainty. That's why the goal isn't to avoid change. The goal is to become financially strong enough to benefit from change instead of fearing it.
I love that perspective. Instead of asking, how do I protect myself from change? Maybe we should ask, how do I build a life that's flexible enough to grow with change?
Exactly. Because in the end, financial planning isn't really about retirement. It's about giving yourself choices. Choices about your career, choices about your family, choices about your health, choices about how you spend your time. And perhaps the greatest luxury isn't retiring early. It's waking up every morning knowing that work is something you choose to do, not something you have to do. To me, that's what financial freedom really means.
That's a wonderful place to end today's conversation. If today's episode made you think differently about your future, we'd encourage you to take some time to review your own financial picture. not because you need to predict exactly what will happen, but because having more options is always better than having fewer. And sometimes, one thoughtful conversation today can create opportunities you didn't even know were possible tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed today's discussion, please like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who might benefit from hearing it.
If this sparked a new perspective, tell us what you're thinking.
Subscribe and grow with this early community. We publish weekly, breaking down the forces shaping your financial future, so you can move with clarity and confidence. Align Wealth 2040. Building wealth with intention.